Well, as everyone has probably heard by now, Graham Platner has officially withdrawn from the Maine Senate race. And not just in an announcement like we saw a couple days ago. No, he actually did finally file the paperwork, though there was some speculation that he was going to do it after the deadline to mess with Democrats. But at the end of the day, he has finally dropped out officially. Which, no matter what you think about the current state of affairs, it is a win for the Democrat Party because now they actually have more of a chance to win. Graham Platner, he was screwed. He was going to get absolutely obliterated in November. He might have lost by like 15 points. It was going to get really bad. It already was. Every Democrat was bailing on him. They forced him out because they realized he's screwed. The scandals were getting even worse by the day, and there are far worse ones coming up. He was done. So that is a win for Democrats. It gives them an actual chance to win. But I still think, even though they have a chance to win, anything is better than Platner, obviously. Platner had like a 0.0001% chance of winning. Now, it's much higher than that. But still, I think Susan Collins right now is the favorite to win. I know that sounds crazy because we're talking about Maine and it's supposed to be a more Democrat environment. I get that. But right now, nobody can ignore all this shit going on in Maine. It is such a shit show right now that even though they got rid of Platner, the Democrat Party is still not in a strong position to win. In fact, after July 27th, it might become an even bigger shit show. Now, how it works in Maine is now the Democrat Party, they get to select a new nominee. Graham Platner got forced out, obviously, and now they got to pick somebody different. And how they're going to do this is allegedly on July 25th, yeah, right here, the Maine Democrat Party says it will hold a convention on July 25th where candidates can seek the nomination from 601 delegates. So yeah, whoever gets the majority of the vote is the nominee. And on July 27th, that's when they have to submit the nominees. So it's a couple days before the deadline. They're going to pick somebody. If they don't, that would be hilarious. But here's the first issue for Democrats that a lot of people are just not talking about. Not enough people, I should say. Guys, when the nominee is selected, they have like 3 months before November. That is the first and biggest problem. There is not enough time. I keep harping on this, but guys, you only got 3 months. You don't got 6 months. You don't got a year. You have 3 months to somehow rally not just the Democrat establishment, not just the Democrat leadership, but the Democrat base, the independent voter, the Graham Platner voter. You have to unite everybody in like 3 months. That is going to be very difficult. And with how contested this convention is looking, it's going to be even more difficult. Seriously, look at this. This is as of now. There's like 9 people that have so far declared their candidacy for the convention. Now, to be fair, they need, I think, like 500 signatures per county or something. Either way, even when you factor out some of the candidates with zero chance of winning, there are still like 4 or 5 major candidates already running. People like the Secretary of State, Troy Jackson, the former president of the Maine Senate, Nareef Shaw, he ran for governor 26 and took second place. We're talking about a lot of major people that ran this year, not 20 years ago. They ran this year. Even Jordan Wood, he took second place in Maine second. And the crazy thing is, there might be other people running as well. We got to see what happens with somebody like Janet Mills. Does she for sure run? Maybe not. But this list can grow even further. This is as of now. That could change, of course. But as you can tell, already, there's like 4 or 5 people that are major candidates. That is not good for Dems. Because that means at this convention on July 25th, it's going to be a mess. It's awful. Because, yeah, at some point, somebody's going to get over 50% of the delegates. Maybe they do, in fact, unite before the convention. That could still happen, and that's best case scenario. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a shit show. It goes like 5 different rounds, and somebody gets like 51% of the delegates and barely wins, pisses off the other half of the convention. It becomes a shit show. It is an utter mess already. And if somebody like Janet Mills enters the race, holy crap. That is not good. This is awful for Dems because now it becomes an even more difficult job to unite the entire Democrat Party. Like with Kamala Harris in 2024, yeah, they rammed her through at the 11th hour, but at least nobody major contested her. She was the only major person that ran for this the nomination. Yeah, some people might have tried to play games behind the scenes, but really, it was Kamala Harris. Here, you don't got that right now. You have like 5 people that have a serious chance at winning, and they're going to do everything they can to win. But that's not even the worst part. Because, okay, somehow, some way, you unite the convention of 600 delegates. Okay, fine. That's just the first step. Then you have to find a way to convince all these voters in the Democrat Party, especially Platner voters, to vote for you. Yeah, most of them will vote for you because Orange Man bad, we got to stop Susan Collins. But there are so many Platner voters right now that are just so pissed off. They're talking about voting for Susan Collins, especially if they don't get their candidate like Troy Jackson. And that is the biggest problem in all of this. Okay, they unite the Democrat establishment. They get the convention on their side. They don't have a contested field. Okay, you have to convince like 130,000 Platner voters that voted for him in the primary and tell them, hey, we know you voted for Platner and love the guy, but we forced him out the 11th hour. You have to vote for me. And by the way, I've been bashing Platner repeatedly. Like Troy Jackson, even though 5 minutes ago he loved him, but now he attacks him, he hates his guts, blah, blah, blah. That's the issue here. That is the biggest issue in all of this. Ignore the convention, ignore the candidates. Do you really think you're going to win every single Platner voter over? Yeah, most of them will vote for you, but how many will say, fuck this, I'm staying home? In fact, there was an article from the New York Times a couple days ago where they had the same thing occur, where a bunch of people they talked to, they're demoralized now. They're saying they're disappointed. We were fired up. We were mad now. We're upset. They took out Platner, and some of them are suggesting they may actually vote for Susan Collins now. Now, they are, of course, are saying if somebody like Troy Jackson does become the nominee, then that's a different story. But again, does Troy Jackson have enough support at the convention to become the nominee? I don't think so. Yeah, the grassroots may prefer him, but is that really enough to win the nomination at convention? Like, you begin looking at all of this, it's like, wait a second here. You have to unite the convention in just a day. Somehow, some way, you have to unite the entire party, get everybody behind you. You got to get the Democrat leadership behind you. They're going to actually support you. You got to get the convention on your side. And you have to find a way to convince all these Platner voters to vote for you in 3 months. Yeah, I don't think that's enough time. I really don't think so. If this was in March or in April, even in May or even June, that's a different story because, okay, you get 3 to 4 months. We're not really in the campaign season just yet. Now we are. Now we're in the middle of July. You're not going to be the nominee until late July. It's the problems just compound when you factor in everything. That's not even talking about fundraising. Whoever the Democrat nominee is, they're going to have a huge deficit in fundraising. Even if Platner gives you all of his money, the amount of money on hand he has is not enough. And you have to find a way to build up a database to fundraise. You're not going to be able to raise as much as Platner did. And are Democrats going to really spend that much in Maine now? Just think about that. We are just mentioning the bare minimum stuff. Bare minimum, they have like 10 different problems they got to sort out in 2 to 3 months. And then that's not even talking about somehow beating Susan Collins, who is so far polling actually still, for her standards, pretty strongly. Even after Platner dropped out, there was a Democrat poll that was released. And this is a Democrat pollster. This is not an independent pollster, not a top tier pollster or whatever. This is an internal. And they found Susan Collins was actually in a statistical tie with all the Democrats. Yeah. So even the Democrat pollsters are saying this is a tight race. And with it being Maine, with how bad the polls can get, and especially for Collins, who's a massive overperformer by upwards of 25 points, not a good sign for Dems that they did all of this. And they might still have a major issue. But that is the reality of the race. It makes it closer without Platner, that's true. But at the same time, do you really think there's enough time for Democrats here? You have to find a way to fundraise a bunch of money. You got to get the Democrat establishment on your side to give you even more money. You have to get the convention on your side. And then you got to get Platner voters on your side. And then you got to convince all these independents that were skeptical of Democrats because of Platner that no, we're not Graham Platner. Even though like half of these candidates praised or was backing Platner just like 5 minutes ago. Does no one see the issue with this? They need so much to go their way just for them to have a realistic chance to actually win. Like, yeah, they have a higher chance to win now without Platner, but that's not really saying much. Okay, he had a 0% chance of winning. You went up by technicality. That's true. But even then, you need 100 different things to go your way just to have a serious chance. The more you think about it, the more you talk about it, the more depressing it gets for Dems. Like, I just don't think there's enough time for what they have to do. There is simply not enough time. And this Platner stuff, yeah, he's not the nominee. It's not going to go away fully. Like I said, these guys were backing him and loving him 5 minutes ago. And these scandals were so horrific that a lot of these independents, they were scared off from Dems. And now you force Platner out. A lot of these progressives, especially if Troy Jackson's not the nominee, they're going to say, fuck you and stay home and not vote for anybody. It is an awful combination for Democrats. With it being a blue wave, though, or maybe not a blue wave, but a Democrat environment, maybe they can pull it off still. That is entirely possible. But even then, I just simply don't think they're in a strong position to win whatsoever. That could absolutely change. But if this convention goes as badly as I think it's going to go and it becomes a total shit show and it's possibly rigged to stop somebody like Jackson or another Platner type from winning, yeah, goodbye to a lot of those progressive voters. They're going to vote or not vote at all. They're simply not going to vote in the race, and Susan Collins wins re-election. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.